Productivity loss due to CI is sort of this endemic problem in the software industry. The amount of time all of us have spent where we're pretty sure our thing is done, but we're just trying to rerun CI again and again to get it to be green so we can merge our code and move on with our lives. Our goal with Blacksmith is to make developers more productive with GitHub Actions. We saw developers like ourselves wasting a ton of time trying to just get their code merged because of slow CI or flaky tests that tend to, compound over time. The lack of visibility into whether their specific change caused a regression in the build or not. Right from the beginning, that was a clear goal for us to solve this observability problem. We were sort of just scratching the surface on our user-facing analytics. We're using Postgres, as most companies starting these days. We looked into building an analytics dashboard right on top of Postgres, but even at our current scale, we're starting to hit the limits of what we can do. So we kind of looked into a bunch of solutions, manually setting up a pipeline that dumps data from our Postgres instance to like a self-hosted or cloud ClickHouse instance and kind of building up like an analytics service. While I think ClickHouse in general is a pretty great technology, and I think we could have built our thing on top of that, it became pretty clear that we would at least need to write a separate service. It would just add another component that we would have to over time just like maintain, have its own like deployment lifecycle. But then we stumbled onto Tinybird and it felt like it was the perfect fit. What we really want to do is we want an easy way to dump events around like workflow usage and be able to quickly whip up an API that exposes aggregate metrics data. Tinybird was the clear winner in terms of how quickly you could get that up and running and how quickly we could get confident that it was doing the right thing. The number one thing was just time to market. We wanted something that we could like whip up quickly and launch. We wanted to, focus most of our energies on the actual UX, the actual experience of the analytics product, not the infra. We didn't want to manage another piece of infra. We're already an infra company. We have enough infra problems on our hands. We didn't want another one. ClickHouse is a good technology, but it is an additional piece of infra. Most analytics use cases actually should not be dealing with ClickHouse directly. Tinybird is that sweet spot layer of abstraction that lets you focus on your users as opposed to managing infra with your engineering team. The approach we take with Blacksmith is we really want to get like the first iteration of something out, get a bunch of users to give us feedback on what they like, what they don't like, what more they would want us to do. So we wanted to take the approach of launching quickly, iterating from there. And it was pretty important for us to build on top of whatever would let us go deeper the quickest. So this is also where we felt like Tinybird kind of was the obvious winner. I just felt like Tinybird would let us do the follow-on work much more quickly than spinning up our own service. We keep finding new use cases where Tinybird is like helping us cut down on additional pieces of infra that we would have to otherwise maintain. Hooking up Tinybird and getting our data wired up to go into a Tinybird pipe was extremely quick. I basically had all of the back-end plumbing done in less than a day. And that's, with a staging and production environment, Tinybird's sort of model of having a data source and setting up these snapshot immutable pipes on top of these data sources was a very good fit. We could iterate with multiple versions of a pipe. We could evaluate whether, that's something we want to go with. And when we settle on something, it's already sort of live. It takes a click to get it live. And that was honestly an incredible experience. I think we had this end-to-end live in like 2.5 weeks. We started off with workflow level analytics. We're about to ship job level analytics, and then we're going to go even deeper. This job level analytics stuff, we've been working on it for less than a week, and we think we can ship something out there in less than another week. All of those things are being built on top of Tinybird. It's sort of become our data analytics hub for all these sorts of things because we just don't have to worry about any heavy analytics load bringing our main production database down. So having that separation of concern allows us to move much faster than we otherwise would. Unless there's a specific reason to manage like a ClickHouse instance, even if it's, through their cloud offering, unless there's like a very specific niche use case where you don't want this layer of abstraction that Tinybird provides, I see very little reason to not use something like Tinybird if all you're trying to do is user-facing analytics or internal analytics. It's so easy to get your data in and the performance is incredible. Like, less than 50 milliseconds on most of these queries that are running pretty heavy aggregations. The product just works, which I think is a rare thing to say about a piece of infra. Tinybird is one of these very few products where the self-serve experience is so good that you can completely onboard on your own, get a production service up and running without having to talk to anyone.